Hello, my name is Harriton Botco. We're back. We have the SecGen of InfraWatch. We have Rick Ramos. Now, we'll take off where we stopped. So we do have a project other than the Araneta underpass. O sige, so we went now to Maguindanao, the 60-kilometer, 3 billion. When you inquired with the Secretary, Babe Singson, he said, binigay niya sa iyo yung mga dokumento, yung binalik mo na, sagutin niyo po ito mga habang nahimay na namin. Hindi na siya sumagot. May iba pa bang mga proyekto ang DPWH? Tingin ko naman, sa laki ng budget nila.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of these things going on. What DPWH is very notorious at, which we can say, based on our 4 years experience, the corruption at DPWH now is worse than the previous governments.
Why is it the perception that this guy enjoys the perception of being Mr. Clean, even on AM radio?
Well, the reason for that is because President Aquino always speaks highly of him, even mentioned him in the State of the Nation address, comes up with these allegations of savings, which we have monitored, which
are not savings.
And they are even inconsistent, the figures.
Inconsistent pa?
Yeah. Yeah, for instance, okay, let's say SWANA last year.
Yes.
Okay. In the midterm report of the DPWH, okay, midterm would be until June of 2013, right?
Yes.
So they claim there a savings of 16.2 billion. Okay. 3 weeks later, for the SONA, on July 22, they said that the savings is now already 18.4
Tumataas,
billion. And if you look at the statistics of the alleged savings over the past 3 years rather, their savings, okay, do not exceed more than 1 billion per year. Mm. So how can they realize
18.
a savings of 2 billion in 1 month?
Hindi pwede.
The same thing, before he left for Europe, if I heard it correctly, he said that there's a savings of 24 billion.
Tumataas na naman.
And then he went to Europe after several weeks, and then he went to the States when he addressed the Harvard School of Government in Boston. The figure he gave was 27.7 billion.
I mean,
they're just picking figures from thin air, not realizing there's a group like us, InfraWatch, who's monitoring all their lives, you know.
So you're telling me the power of the president, the perception he creates, because he says he's clean, just because he says this guy is clean, Singson, everyone's saying he is as well, in spite of your audit.
Yeah, because...
Ba't hindi niya kayo sinasagot? Kilala mo naman si Babes.
Well, no, Babes answers to us, okay? We have written him over 50 letters in the past 4 years, but that is usually what happens. We write to him, and then we're not even sure if he reads the letters. He refers it to the undersecretary. The undersecretary refers it to the assistant secretary or the regional director. And then the regional director refers it to the district engineer, who is probably the one responsible for the anomaly. And then the district engineer gives an answer. Then it goes up all the way to the secretary.
Wait. When you say the district engineer is the one responsible for the anomaly, hindi naman pwede yung tao sa baba ang gumagawa ng kalokohan na hindi kasabwat ang tao sa taas. Correct me if I'm wrong, unless it's real stupid management.
Well, actually, they have certain budgets of authority, okay? If you're a district engineer, you can decide until 50 million, okay? If you're a regional director, up to 100 million.
Wow.
Anything over above 100 million goes to the central office.
So, but everybody, 100 million is 50 million, 100 million is quite a lot, especially if you start lumping them in multiple projects all over the country. And what I'm trying to point out is, can the district and regional directors create anomalies without the people on top knowing it? I mean, by sheer incompetence or because sheer neglect. Is that possible that Babe Singson is really straight, together with the president, ninoloko siya ng mga tao sa baba? But how is that even possible? I mean, is that how badly the country is being managed?
Yeah, well, what has happened is that the corruption at DPWH has continued for the simple reason that Babe Singson retained practically all of them, believing...
That's true, isn't it? Different leader, And everyone remains the same.
He's believing that probably, just like Saul of Tarsus, they'll be hit by a lightning and they'll become St. Paul one day.
Ganun din, same.
So basically, the same corrupt people of DPWH are there in place, from the district engineer to the regional director. I mean, they're all there, and you can see, the favored contractors are still there.
You know what I have a difficult time with, Rick, is I'm trying to figure out what exactly this government has done, because he keeps boasting. Well, this week we've been bombarded by ANC and Channel 2 about his trip in Europe and America. He keeps talking about reforms, and he even talks about, well, if the people want me to stay, there's nothing I can do. I should serve. I'm being requested by the people. Ang boses ng taong bayan. Of course, the very next day he comes back here, the newspapers in glaring headlines, 6 out of 10 Pinoys don't want you to have a second term. And then there he goes again saying otherwise. Now, is it because he doesn't understand what's going on, or are they just throwing statistics to people like you and your group, thinking that you guys don't know what you're doing? Parang ganon?
Well, basically, you mentioned about his trip abroad. Remember what came out in the news? He was supposed to have gotten a commitment of 2.3 billion, right?
That was negated by a number of people.
Yes.
I think I read it in your article. Wala naman kasi 1.5 billion was already pre-signed by the Zobel Group, the telecoms group, di ba, on Globe. And talaga namang walang pinasok, puro kompromesa lang. And even then, even 2 billion, that's still nothing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, the problem is this. When the president, would praise DPWH Secretary Singson, what happens is that the information that he's using, praising Singson, also comes from Secretary Singson. He does not even validate it.
Diretso na lang.
Yeah, that's why I'm
You
saying...
validated it. Infra has.
Oh, yeah, we have. And the problem is, even if you write to the office of the president to tell them of what's going on in DPWH, you would hardly get any answer. It's just an exercise in futility, because as the president is concerned...
But isn't that rule, isn't that law, that when you do send formal letters, government has to answer it? Di ba nasa batas yan?
Yeah,
they need to reply. 15 days, if I'm not
mistaken. There
is
Republic Acts 6713, authored by Senator Rene Sagisag. This is the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards.
They have to reply.
They have to reply, but under the Constitution, the president cannot be sued.
So it's one and the same thing.
So if ever, you can write to the executive secretary, and then if he does not answer, then you can invoke that. And we have written to the executive secretary, Jojo Ochoa, and Jojo Ochoa has never replied to us. We could file a case against him, but we're not even sure if it's worth filing something against a person like him.
In your experience, in the 4 years since you put up InfraWatch, to complement exactly what Pinoy wanted to do, correct me if I'm wrong, this is exactly the why InfraWatch was put up. Now that you're giving your services back to him to help him understand, it seems he's just negated you totally, much less Singson. At first, Singson cooperates, and then stops cooperating.
What happened was, even on day one, July 1st, we wrote to Secretary Singson, offering InfraWatch to help him. The same thing we wrote to President Aquino. And then,
Sinagot kayo?
And then
no reply?
There was, on August 13, 2010, we had a meeting. InfraWatch met with Secretary Singson at the Manila Polo Club. And what was interesting there is that we were pleasantly surprised that he offered InfraWatch to become the citizens' arm of the DPWH.
That's nice.
And then that was a Friday. And then on a Monday, he even texted me asking me to put up a website for the DPWH and to put up and to be able for us to be the one to accept all the complaints. But I told him we cannot do that unless we have a memorandum of agreement.
Correct.
But to make a long story short, that meeting of August 13, 2010 at the Manila Polo Club, nothing happened. Everything he offered to us evaporated.
Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take again a short break. I wonder if our government is run like the United Nations, where everybody goes up, on a platform, gives their point of view, and then everybody negates it or just walks away. It's called deliberate, wishy-washy, nothing to do, don't want to know, and to hell with you. It seems that this is the way. Now, we're learning of InfraWatch. Most of you don't really know InfraWatch. I was exposed to it only last week, only to find out that the purpose, the singular objective, was actually to complement where the government was going. Sadly enough, it's gone on a different path. The Daan Matuwid, obviously, is like the Wizard of Oz. They follow the yellow brick road, very fitting for the ribbons they carry on their lapels, going nowhere, like in the maze, where we all get confused. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Like I said,